I have this long-held tradition, I guess you could call it. Every year during the performance, I step off the stage and leave the building. I just want God to do what God does. And the shepherds came with haste, and they found Mary and Joseph and the babe
lying in the manger.
Doesn't matter where you see the nativity story, whether it's on a street corner or in a church or even on your neighbor's mantle. When you see it, you have to consider it then and there. Are you willing to kneel at the manger? Will you believe in the miracle of Christmas, the glory of Christmas? Trust that this is the way that God chose to save us all.
And all who heard it wondered at those things, which were told them by the shepherds. But Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. And the shepherds returned,
glorifying and worshiping God for all the things that they have seen and heard, as it was said unto them. Amen.
And I have to say, I am really excited to see you here tonight because honestly, at about 1:45, I thought we might have 5-6 people. I'm so excited that you're here. You've set aside this hour because for some strange reason, you think it's meaningful to your Christmas celebration. Or you're here because your mother-in-law dragged you. Either one. Fine with either one. You know, it's hard to get out these days sometimes. I mean, I get excited. I want to go out. Do you like to go out? Juanita, you like to go out. Post-COVID, we were stuck inside. We want to go out. And we get so excited to go out. But then when you get out, what happens? You want to go home. The very second I step out the door, I'm ready to go home. I get to a party, I'm looking at my clock, I'm ready to go home. But you made it out here. Despite the snow, the roads, the sidewalks weren't even plowed. You went out and you're here. And I'm so, so appreciative. And I really hope that this hour is meaningful for you. I hope that the music inspires you. I really do. And I hope that the prayers comfort you. And I hope that the candles we light and that we share with one another, I hope they warm your hearts. But most of all, more than any of these things, I hope that you will take a moment in the next 25 minutes to reflect upon the baby in the manger and what he means to you. Now, I can tell you tonight what he means to me, and it's a lot, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter. What matters is what he means to you. Now, each Sunday in Advent, we've been exploring different facets of the glory of Christmas, the different characters in this nativity play, and it's been, oh, there we go. It's been funny and heartwarming and touching and all of that. We started with Mary. She taught us that Christmas is not something that you have to get through. It's something that's supposed to get you through. And we looked at Joseph, and we learned that even if you feel radically underqualified, fear not, for God is present with you. And of course, the humble shepherds who taught us that Christmas is meant for everyone. And last Sunday, we looked at the wise man, and he taught us that the wise man never takes center stage, that Christmas is an opportunity to pause and reflect upon the true main character of the Christmas story and of life in general, which is Christ our Lord. Tonight we finish from the perspective of Joel, who is the Nativity Play's humble director. And his tradition every year, as he tells us, is to step off the stage, actually leave the building, and then just sort of let God do his thing. Let the message speak for itself. What does he say? He says, it doesn't matter where you see the nativity story, whether it's on a street corner or in a church or even on your neighbor's mantle. When you see it, you have to consider it then and there. Are you willing to kneel at the manger? Will you believe in the miracle of Christmas, the glory of Christmas, and trust that this is the way that God chose to save us all? I know to some it might sound crazy. How can a little baby save the whole world? He can't even lift up his own head. This week I read a quote that said, Christmas is the promise, and Easter is the proof. You see, Christmas is just the beginning of a story, the promise of a rescue mission as God leaves heaven behind to walk among us. And why does he do that? Well, first, he wants to teach us about who God really is. We have characteristically and still do have had some pretty unhealthy ideas about who God is. Some pretty scary zombie, apocalyptic, judgmental, tyrant sort of notions about God. And Jesus set us straight. The things he did, the things he said, the way he behaved, the way he loved, the way he healed and gave his life. He taught us what God is really like. And the scriptures say when you see Jesus, you see God. And he came to teach us about who we are. Because honestly, a lot of the times we don't get it quite right. A lot of the times I think a lot of us look at ourselves as unlovable, unworthy. And if we do anything religious, it's to sort of try to appease God and say, look at me, God, I'm worthy. What did Jesus teach us? He went to all of us, even the least of us, and said, you are worthy of my love, my forgiveness, and my grace. And then he came to die and to rise again, defeating both sin and death. And he did that in the span of just 3 days. He said this was his mission. The Son of Man, which was his favorite way of talking about himself, came to seek and to save the lost. Now, whether you believe that, that's up to you. I know that 12 men believed it. 11 of them gave their lives rather than deny it. I know that billions throughout the centuries have believed it. It's inspired thousands of hospitals and schools and soup kitchens and toy drives and clothing initiatives. And the list, it just goes on. As people have gazed into that manger and they have been inspired to change for the better. You know, even as secular as Canada is today, when you go to the mall, when you go to Walmart, you still hear songs about the birth of Jesus. Even at my son's winter concert this week, there were still hints, little messages about Jesus. Songs on the radio. What other time of the year are you on a mainline radio and you hear Mary's boy child, Jesus Christ, was born on Christmas Day? I think there's something special about this time of the year where the whole world just seems to forget that we're secular for some reason. And Jesus is permitted, even if it's just a little crack. You have to ask yourself why. Is it nostalgia? Is it tradition? Or is it a feeling within all of us that there is something important about this baby in Bethlehem? So like the shepherds, we hear the news and we want to go and see the baby for ourselves. Like the wise men, we give gifts whether we know it or not in the name of love. So, if you feel something tonight, if even just a small twinge, I urge you to not push it down and move on with life like nothing happened here at all. Because what if there really is something to Christmas after all? What if there really is something more than the presents and everything else that sort of masks a deeper message? Something deeper than Santa and turkey and even Hallmark. There's a popular play at this time of year. You've seen a dozen different versions, and I always enjoy watching it, and it's A Christmas Carol. And there's this one scene that always fascinates me. The ghost of his former partner, Jacob Marley, appears to Ebenezer Scrooge, and they have a very frank and uncomfortable conversation. And clearly, the old miser is shaken by the entire ordeal. But he refuses to acknowledge what in his heart he knows to be true. He simply dismisses the apparition as just a bit of undigested beef. You know the famous line, "There's more gravy than grave about you," he says. And when you watch it, don't you just want to yell at the screen? What are you doing? Ebenezer, you're miserable. Your life stinks. The truth is right there in front of you. Just take hold of it. Reach out. Believe in it. Be set free. Well, I'm not going to yell at you tonight. That's not why I'm here. But what I will do is I'll step off this stage. I'll get out of the way, and I'll let the message of Christmas speak for itself. After all, the truth is right there. Just take it and be set free. And have a very Merry Christmas.